Does a person have the right to reject a government policy for mandatory vaccination? That's what the legal aspect there. And from a societal perspective, are there health-related implications for nationals accepting or rejecting vaccines? There are two
So
questions.
yeah, so
Go
two
ahead.
questions. So let me take a step-by-step approach to answering the questions by saying historically there was a time when we didn't have vaccine, and it was very devastating for populations. In the 1300s, there was the bubonic plague that killed probably about one fourth of the population of Europe, up to 200 million people. The avian flu or the Spanish flu in the 1918, well, that was post-vaccine, but that maybe killed 50 million people. In the 1700s, there was a disease called smallpox that was said to have claimed about 200 million lives. And during that outbreak in 1776, a gentleman by the name of Jenner, Edward Jenner, discovered that persons who contracted a milder disease called cowpox seemed to not be able to get smallpox, which was the most dangerous disease at the time. So he investigated and found out that if he took some of the material from persons who had cowpox and injected into persons who were probably going to get sick, they wouldn't get sick. And that was the discovery of vaccination. And since then, vaccines have been life-saving. We were at a time when people died primarily from infectious diseases, and now we're at a time when infectious diseases are, probably number 10 on the list of killers. So vaccines have been a remarkable and amazing discovery. What is a vaccine? A vaccine, as many of you might know, is usually a biological agent that we might inject or give orally, which stimulates your immune system to protect you against a particular disease. And there are a number of vaccines available now. In Jamaica, we give vaccines against poliomyelitis, and Jamaica has the proud record of being one of the first countries to rid itself of polio using vaccination protocols. We have measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, chickenpox vaccine, vaccine against hepatitis. Various vaccines are now available. Vaccines in Jamaica are mandatory for children. In fact, the law says that every child below the age of 7 must be vaccinated, and our law, which was revised in 2013, the Immunization Regulation Act, it imposes a penalty of $1 million or less, or up to 12 months in prison for a parent who refuses to vaccinate their children, or schools who take children who are not vaccinated, or doctors or nurses who refuse to vaccinate. For some different reasons, the law is not enforced, but they are on the books. So vaccines in Jamaica are mandatory for children below the age of 7, and the government has a list of vaccines that they call mandatory. And I'll give you a list quickly. The list includes things like the polio, the MMR vaccine, DPT vaccines, and hepatitis B and the hemophilus influenza type B. Those are mandatory vaccines. Recently, the government introduced the HPV vaccine for girls in high school. This is not mandatory, but it's recommended. Now, the vaccine for adults are not mandatory, but beyond age 7, schools by law are required not to take children who are not vaccinated. They are legally required to send them home to discover that they are not vaccinated and they're attending. Now, there is one exemption in Jamaica from vaccination. In other countries, it's a little more up to the parents, and there are exemptions. In Jamaica, we have some of the most restrictive laws. The only exemption is on medical grounds. That person must get a certificate from the doctor that says they are unfit for vaccination based on the health status. That is the only exemption allowed under law in Jamaica. And so vaccines are mandatory, and we do not have the right to refuse them based on the list the government has given us and based on the laws as how they are written. Now, I know you want to hear about the COVID-19 vaccine,
Yes.
which is now in human trials. there are about 100 vaccine candidates. So there are 100 different companies developing vaccines right now. Some of them have reached phase 3 trials. A company in the US, Moderna, developing one, and AstraZeneca just started phase 3 trial, or about to start phase 3 trial in Brazil. Now, the COVID-19 vaccine is not yet available for the general public, but we suspect it might be available soon. Will the government make this vaccine mandatory? We don't know yet. But why would we have a problem with this? Well, there are a number of reasons. One, vaccines are said generally to be safe and effective, but that's not always true. Some vaccines aren't safe. And I could highlight a couple of examples. One cohort of Black boys in America was found to have an increased risk of autism from getting a particular batch of MMR vaccine. The MMR vaccine given at age 18 months in now in Jamaica has shown increased risk of febrile seizures. And there are many other vaccine issues. In the US, they have a vaccination compensation plan. And since they've been instituted, they have paid out over $4 billion in vaccine compensation for persons who have been injured by vaccines. The vaccines do cause injury. They are not all safe as you've been told. And many times persons are injured. And are vaccines effective? For the most part, they are, but they aren't always effective. I, for example, I was vaccinated at age 18 months and 6 years against measles and mumps, but I got those diseases anyway. The flu vaccine of 2018 was found to be at 2.5% effective. Will the COVID-19 vaccine be effective? We do not yet know. So if it's effective and it's going to prevent you from getting a life-threatening illness, it might be a great idea, especially for vulnerable persons. At present, we know healthy persons have probably less than a 5% chance of dying from COVID-19, but persons who have underlying illness may have up to a 14% chance of dying. So persons who are more susceptible might have a net positive benefit of taking a COVID-19 vaccine, even if it does cause some problems. Will the COVID-19 vaccine be safe? Well, we do not yet know. We are trying to find out. But the problem is two problems. One, a vaccine typically takes maybe 10 years between start of development and getting to market. Because of COVID-19 emergence, we're trying to get them to market within 18 months. That means we will basically skip many of the safety checks that are usually done. So if and when this COVID-19 vaccine comes to market, we will have no idea about the long-term consequences and even medium-term consequences of this vaccine. So we will be basically in the dark, and one vaccine makers come out to say the governments will have to insure or indemnify the vaccine makers against lawsuits if the vaccine causes problems, because we will not know. We'll be taking chances with this vaccine. They are doing all they can to identify risks and side effects. And I've seen a couple of persons come on the internet who have been given vaccine in the trials and have complained of significant fever and joint pains and very ill. We have had some reports, not full reports, some information to be held back, but there are going to be concerns about the safety of the COVID-19 vaccine. Last thing I want to say, the company Moderna in the US is employing a technology to develop their vaccine that was never seen before in humankind. They're developing an RNA vaccine, which I want to go into details to explain, but it basically means they're going to be using RNA from a virus, genetic information, to put that into your cells so you can make a protein that the virus normally makes and hopefully develop immunity to that protein and to the virus. This is new technology and it's untested and unproven, and it is worrying to some scientists as to what will be the medium and long-term impacts. We do not know. In the context of trying to save millions of lives, it might be reasonable to take some chances. But it is my view that vaccines of this nature should not be mandated. People should have an opportunity to decide if they want something to be injected into their bodies. In medicine, we call it informed consent. So in my view, persons should be given the chance to look at the facts when they are ready and decide if they want this vaccine. Should somebody refuse a vaccine, what are the implications for them? well, they might catch COVID-19 and they might die, and they would be able to pass it on to other persons. So your refusal to get a vaccine may impact other persons too. And what if you do take the vaccine? Well, you might be protected, might be, we're not sure, and you might have vaccine injury, which may include short-term and long-term plans. So that's my comprehensive answer to all the questions. I don't know if there are additional questions or comments.
Thank you. Very interesting response. We'll take any further question. El David, is there any question out there? Because I know this one's like hot potato, may call it that. Folk are concerned about it. There are persons who raise question as to whether or not they have the right, it is their right to reject vaccination, etc. And Doctor, you have responded beautifully to those questions. Are there any questions?
So Pastor Brad, let me ask Dr. Thomas a question. Very good presentation, and I've learned a lot from his presentation. Do you see vaccine as the same as taking medicine? Because as we were talking, I was saying, yes, there are some, when you take medicine, there's always that explanation to you that there's side effects and so on. So is it equivalent to taking medicine? And if that's the case, why would it be mandatory then? Since generally, a person has the right to decide what type of medication, healthcare they want to take.
The answer is yes and no. It is equivalent to taking medicine in that it goes into your body and has an impact on you. Governments have thought it necessary to make it mandatory as a public health issue because they are trying to prevent communicable diseases, and your refusal to take a vaccine means that you can catch a disease which will not just affect you but affect persons you come in contact with, which means you can spread the disease. So it becomes not just a personal issue like diabetes and hypertension, but a public health issue because you can pass the disease on.
Okay, thank you. So it's like, I didn't want to say, he's like refusing to use a condom. I mean, well,
but it may affect a lot more persons might be affected by your decision to not take a particular vaccine. But as I said in my presentation, it will vary from vaccine to vaccine because some vaccines are safer than others, some are more effective. So we can't make a broad assumption that all vaccines are safe and effective. They are not. That's not the truth.
Okay, I want to read a comment here from the one of our persons who posts here. Very interesting. Said the immunization regulations in Jamaica make certain vaccinations mandatory, and if you do not comply, you can be fined $1 million or have 12 months in jail. A constitutional challenge as to it may not win, because it is a relevant objective and is reasonably needed, rather, right, to address the objective of public health statement. But there's a question, I don't know, El David, I think Dr. Wright had asked a question, may have missed it somewhere. If you can find it in the meantime.
I found it, sir.
There, one question to Dr. Thomas, someone asked, do you, that's Elder Johnson, do you know of any plans in Jamaica to carry out a COVID-19 vaccine trial? Dr. Thomas, I don't know if you could respond to that.
No, at present, Jamaica is not a part of any COVID-19 trial that I'm aware of. I have checked, and we are, doing trials for drugs to treat COVID-19, but no vaccine trials for Jamaica as yet. As I said earlier, the closest to us is Brazil. They are starting their trials soon, about 2,000 volunteers for AstraZeneca vaccine, but none planned for Jamaica as yet. I'm sure if the opportunity comes to Jamaica, we'll probably take the opportunity. But because of our small population and the small amount of patients here getting COVID-19, probably not a good test case. They would prefer places where the virus is spreading very fast, so they can get back information quite quickly.
Oh, Dr. Thomas.
Yes, quoting from the Seventh Adventist statement on vaccination, it says the Seventh Adventist Church places strong emphasis on health and well-being. It goes on to say that we encourage responsible immunization and vaccination. So we are not anti-vaccine people, but we encourage um, vaccination in a responsible way. I would say at this point, we should do two things. Don't yet make up your mind on a COVID-19 vaccine. Wait for the facts. Wait for the trials. And if the trial suggests that it is not in your interest to take it, then you shouldn't. The trial suggests that it is safe and effective. At that point, you can decide to take it. More than that, though, Adventists have a long tradition of promoting healthy lifestyle and diet. And that will prove more effective than any vaccine to build your immune system and protect you from COVID-19 and other viruses to come. We should take opportunity to practice what we preach and to teach others the principles of our health message that has served